In the early 1800s, alcohol was a very large part of American society, and many Americans were avid drinkers. Alcoholic beverages were also quite common in the workplace. This would soon become a problem, as many men would drink their money away and leave their families very poor. Alcohol was also to blame for large amounts of domestic violence, which many women would later fight strongly against. All these factors would lead to the creation of the American Temperance Society, which in the beginning would be a movement aimed to only reduce the amount of alcohol consumption, but would quickly transition towards a no-alcohol movement. Part of the motivation for this movement was religious-based. Both leaders of the society, Lyman Beecher and Dr. Justin Edwards, were ministers and preached for a society with no alcohol. Another motivation for this movement was to promote a more healthy family life for both children and women. Many followers called alcohol demon rum, as they thought it was used by the devil to take people off their righteous path. Many different solutions were seen by the members of the society. Some were very harsh. Justin Edwards supposedly said that, "Keep the temperate people temperate, the drunkards will soon die, and the land will be free." Many didn't try to reform alcoholics, as they saw the only solution towards a no-alcohol society would be to abandon alcoholics as a whole. The followers of the movement would also quickly switch from encouraging abstinence from alcohol to demand for the prohibition of alcohol as a whole. Women also saw solutions to America's alcohol problems. In 1873, the Women's Christian Temperance Union was formed and fought not only for a no-alcohol society, but also for their right to vote. 20 years later, in 1893, an anti-saloon league was formed. They fought for the total prohibition of alcohol, leading to the 18th Amendment in 1919. This group was very religious-based, backed by Baptist, Methodist, and Presbyterian unions. This movement would also fuel the growing concept of individualism and responsibility and would help move towards decreased domestic violence and a higher standard for family life.
During the antebellum era, which is described as the period between the end of the War of 1812 and right before the Civil War, reform movements evolved tremendously. At the center of these movements was the temperance movement. One of the groups that formed as a part of this movement was the American Temperance Society, a group established for the purpose of advocating for reduction or prohibition on consumption of certain alcoholic beverages. The society was co-founded in Boston, Massachusetts in 1826 by two Presbyterian ministers named Justin Edwards and the more widely known Lyman Beecher. The founders, like many others, were inspired by the Second Great Awakening, an intense religious revival that centered around improving people and society's morality. Beecher and Edwards and members who eventually joined observed the increase in alcohol consumption after the Revolutionary War due to the social and economic problems that arose, and how that led to additional problems such as violence and bad health. They decided that alcohol, specifically spirit alcohol like vodka and rum, was evil and drinking it was a sin. Therefore, they sought to defeat the issue of this excessive consumption and save people's souls. The group's population was initially large with around 170,000 members, and over the next 10 years the number grew to over 1.5 million. The groups that spread across the country sought to make the production and selling of alcohol illegal, but also pushed for legal change within the Constitution. At first they wanted to limit drinking, but by 1820 they fought for complete abstinence from alcohol. Members ended up being quite successful in creating change locally along with the combined efforts of other temperance societies, and eventually led to the ratification to the 18th Amendment, stating that production, transport, and the selling of alcohol was illegal.